3 weeks since I arrived back from Shanghai, and now I'm getting back to normality. It's quite weird after such a long period of working 24/7 around the clock and everything stops. But I have to say it's been nice to have all the messages on my email, florist friends calling in the shop with cards or wishing me congratulations, and they'd seen everything that I'd done on Facebook. So, you know, it's really nice when you get people coming in and doing that for you. Well, after a long flight from London Heathrow into Shanghai, we finally arrived. And fortunately, we've had some good weather when we arrived on our first couple of days. And you just walked outside the hotel and there is the Oriental Pearl Tower right across the road. What an amazing sight to see, and it being so close. So now the fun's going to start and it's getting quite exciting. Well, we're here at Shanghai at my booth on Thursday the 25th in the afternoon, and this is the last day of preparation before the main competition starts tomorrow. This is my table for two, which is green tea for two, and my interpretation for the Oriental theme has come through from the colours of the oranges through to the cerise. And obviously, as you look at the form and the structure, it gives you a feel of the idea of the bird's nest from Beijing, which also creates this interest. As you can see, as you climb around, we've got glass tubes in different sizes, which is a place where I'm able to place my flower material. Here we've moved on to the bridal bouquet, which is Oriental Pearl. My inspiration after a lot of research came that I found the Shanghai Oriental Pearl Tower, and what I've created is I've inverted the tower using the pearls in different levels, going through the design and using individual plates that are all waxed and glittered, and this will give me the platform to actually glue and place my plant material. And very deep inside are little filigrees of cerise wire, which allows me to thread all my decorative material through. Here we've moved on to my free expression, and the title for this is Flowers on the Orient. And after doing a lot of research, we actually decided that we like the movement that was in the Chinese handwriting, but also if you look at this movement, it depicts a junk boat. So it comes from the shape of their traditional boats and sails, which gave us our inspiration for our containers. But my choice of material for this design are wonderful Sarasonas, the purple and orange carnations, and I have the most wonderful Acmea flower that will just hang pendulously, gently, cascading out to really give you that tropical feel, with beautiful anthuriums and nepanthes. The 2 hard days have now been finished. We've done our 2 days of prep, and we've come to the end of the last day of prep, and our stand is ready now, ready to move into the major competition on the Friday. It's quite exciting now to see everything put together, because nothing has ever been finished properly, so that we can actually see what the outcome's going to look like before we put any flowers into the design. So it's exciting now as we move into that Friday and start to really finish the designs off. Well, the Saturday afternoon has now finished and all my pieces are now completed. It's quite interesting when you actually do your pieces. I mean, on my last 2 pieces, I actually walked away and thought, no, I'm not really happy with those. But when I went back an hour later, where we just had that chance to clean up and actually look at my finished designs, you look at them in a totally different light, and they were finished to perfection. So it was quite exciting to know that, and it's a relief now. I can relax for a little while. I can now go up to my room and get changed and wait for the results this evening. So this is going to be quite interesting, because at the moment I'm still in that dicey position on whether I will be in that top 10. Well, the evening had finally arrived, and eventually now we were all called up on stage one by one. We received a trophy, you know, to say that we'd competed in the World Cup in Shanghai, and then the announcement started. My name must have been called out. Well, I didn't hear it. And I'm still stood there talking to the person next to me, till eventually I got this little jab in my side to say, Neil, you're through to the top 10. That was an amazing experience, because it wasn't what I was expecting, so I was absolutely shocked. But I was elated, and the Brits were all going mad with the flags, because they'd heard it before me. So once I was there, that was it. It was time to really pull the stops out again, because I could still move up further. We're at the final day, waiting to go on stage, and all the competitors are in the holding room, away from the stage. So we're all sat there, all biting our nails, waiting, ready to see what's going to happen and what sort of surprise items we were going to be given. Eventually, we were all taken down to the main stage, ready to go on. And each competitor was called out by their name and country, till eventually, obviously, United Kingdom is always the last one to be called up, because we're right at the bottom. And I go on, and I thought, well, I need to make a splash. I need to know that people are going to be looking at me rather than other competitors. So I decided to wear a Union Jack waistcoat, which really made me obvious on stage. It was really exciting, because you know now it was starting to build up, and you were really wanting to get on and get your job done and do the best for your country. Well, now we're all on stage, and we have been given our boxes for the surprise items. We all thought there was going to be a hand tied, so it wasn't a shock when we were told what we had to make. And we were given a very good selection of flowers. They were all in yellows, golds, ivories, nice selection of foliages, copper wire, copper mesh, and we were allowed to use any of our main sundries from our toolbox, which was already pre-checked on what we were allowed to take on stage. And so in that time, you're trying to think, what can I make? What's possible to make within the 40 minutes that we were given on stage? And first of all, I started to use the copper mesh. I started to weave flexigrass, use other foliages to make a matting, which allowed me then to place my flowers through. So it gave me a nice structure and form to hold the bouquet. And obviously concentrating on making sure that my stems were nice and clean, and they were tied to a certain point so that you weren't going to lose marks, and it had to also fit in the glass container that was supplied. Well, now we're moving on to our second surprise item. Well, the boxes were coming out. There was one box, there was two boxes, there was black bags, there was a big ceramic black container, and then we started to open the rest of the boxes. Good selection of flowers. There was roses, anthuriums, pendulous heliconias. So we had all sorts of things to work with. And then when we found the bicycle tyres, two of them, what on earth were you going to do? Because the idea of this piece was that you were coming from the old China to the new China, and you were having to incorporate this into your design. And I started to fill my container with the floral foam. And then I started to build everything together. And I first started to use one of the bicycle wheels to sit on the container, and then some bamboo. And so my interpretation was that now you've got the wheel that was actually leaving the old China and moving into the new China. And I started to create it very simple, very clean lines using heliconias, anthuriums, and making sure that all my mechanics were well hidden. And I finished off by placing one of the Chinese lanterns right at the top. And the time finally arrived and we were all then called up on stage one by one, and the announcement then started.
Third place for the 2010 Interflora World Cup goes to Korea. Second place, Switzerland, Yvonne Roth. First place, and the winner of the 2010 Interflora World Cup goes to Norway, Stein R. Hansen.
恭喜挪威选手！恭喜，有请我们的薛总来给他颁发奖杯。
I've learnt a lot from the experience, especially with it being Shanghai and the logistics of getting all your products into that country. It taught me a lot. As a florist, you've got to adjust. You have to evolve with what's around you and still create your designs from the products that are okay. But as competitors, we all just coped with it. We got on with it. We just enjoyed what we were creating. And meeting so many different people from other countries, I think that's the best part of competing, because you make friends right across the world. And I've only been home 3 weeks, and every competitor that competed have all emailed each other to say it was a pleasure to meet you and let's hope we can all keep in contact. Or maybe we might meet them somewhere else in the world. You know, what more can you ask for? I mean, I think that's one of the biggest prizes from the Interflora World Cup is friendships.